Absolutely. I would go to the professor, the instructor, talk to the teacher, and let them know what's going on. They'll deal with that. I promise you, they'll deal with it. I think it's really important, too, to think about sexual harassment. Oftentimes people think sexual harassment is only a person in power over another person, or it's only male, female, but sexual harassment can encounter all those things. You know, a student can sexually harass a faculty member. You know, a faculty member can harass a student. It could be male, female, it could be same sex. It's all of those things. What should you do if you're the victim of sexual harassment, or if you witness it? You know, what do you tell someone? You know, it's really easy for me to stand up here and say, tell the person to stop. If that person has some power or perceived power over you, it's probably not going to be so easy to say, hey, stop, I don't like it when. Go back to my faculty scenario. You know, the faculty member who opens every class with an obscene joke. If I'm in that class, am I going to be comfortable going up there going, you know, this is really making me uncomfortable? If I don't know that faculty member very well, I probably won't be very willing to go there. So, you know, I think it's really easy to say tell the person to stop, but you have to have that comfort level. You can always write a letter to the harasser, but again, if that person has some power or perceived power over you, you probably aren't going to want to do that. Tell someone, by all means. Tell someone to, tell a faculty member, tell an advisor. Go to Rosemary Augustine, the sexual harassment officer. Another thing that we have here on this campus, has anyone heard of the Ombuds office? It's a brand new office that opened up. And again, Ombuds is a place to go for confidential, just assistance. So if you are not sure if it's sexual harassment, or you're not sure, you know, where to go or what to do, Nina Gomez, who's a retired faculty member, is the director of Ombuds. She's a wonderful, wonderful problem solver. She does a lot of training in problem solving and conflict resolution. But Ombuds is another place that you can go. I think most importantly, you know, you can also go to Rosemary. And Rosemary, if she receives a complaint, will talk it out. And complaints can come in a couple of different ways. They can be formal or informal. But do something. You know, what to do with online harassing? You know, if you're getting those instant messages, you know, tell someone. Be brief, be to the point, stop. I don't like it when you send me these messages. If it's an email, you can send an email back. You or someone using your account has been sending me these obscene emails. Stop immediately. You know, keep a record. I think it's really important. That helps if you need to come forward and ask for assistance. A couple of things about our UCCS policy that I think are really, really important to know too. We have a supervisory obligation to report. That means that if any supervisor, and supervisor means, yes, your supervisor at work, but also means faculty member. If anyone witnesses or receives a complaint of sexual harassment, they must bring that forward. Why do you think we have a supervisory obligation to report?
Liability.
Pardon me?
Liability.
Well, liability, that's a good one, yes. Also, we want things handled consistently here on campus. We don't want one department to say, oh, that's not a big deal, and another one to, you know, throw their arms up in the air and go, oh my gosh, what do I do? So by having a supervisory obligation to report, everything is handled in a consistent fashion. What happens if we receive a report of sexual harassment? We will conduct an investigation. I'm the person who usually gets assigned investigations, and investigations can be formal or informal. If we receive a formal written complaint of sexual harassment, we have an obligation to do a formal investigation with a formal written report. When we receive a formal written complaint, we then provide that complaint to the person, people, whatever group against whom the complaint has been filed. So go back to my professor, you know, with the obscene jokes. If I receive a formal written complaint about that, that professor would receive a copy of that complaint, and then we do a formal investigation, potentially. But we have the opportunity to do informal investigations. We've had situations where someone might put their complaint in writing, but say, you know, no, I'm willing to handle this in an informal fashion. So, again, I think on this campus, 99.9% of the time, we're able to resolve things in an informal fashion. I've been here 2 years, and we've had very, very few things that have been handled in a formal fashion. So I think that's really good. What are outcomes? There could be sanctions or disciplinary action, but also there can be training and awareness. I'll keep going back to that faculty member. That faculty member had no idea that he or she was creating a hostile, intimidating, or offensive environment. We get that complaint, I go to that faculty member and I say, I've had some reports that you start every class with an obscene joke. If the faculty member says, well, of course I do, everyone laughs, then there's not a lot to investigate. We've had a complaint and the person has said, yes, I'm doing that. So how do we raise it to that next higher level of awareness? Making that person aware that is offensive to some people, that it's making people uncomfortable in his or her class. I always suggest buying a new joke book if that's the case. But I think we have been able to handle things in an informal fashion. Another thing that's really important to know is there's a no retaliation provision in our policy. So if someone comes forward, that person comes forward and complains about that faculty member starting every class with an obscene joke, that faculty member can't retaliate. Cannot go back and get even with that person. We also have a no false reporting provision too. We don't want anyone to use, sexual harassment as a way to get even with it. We already talked about the Brad Pitt comment in the news. Did anyone see the Colorado Springs Fire Battalion? I was pretty amazed. I've been doing this training ever since the sexual harassment laws first came out. And, you keep hoping, oh, it's going away, it's not a big thing. Well, in the news, this was in July, there was a female fire battalion, this case is still ongoing, so I'm sure we'll see more about it. But a female battalion chief, fire battalion chief, who alleged that she was the victim of sexual harassment. She said her male colleagues constantly were making offensive sexual comments, constantly talking about their sex lives. Now, as I said, this is an ongoing case, but it was in the news. That was this summer. I usually ask these questions when I'm thinking about comments or things. Would I say this to my mother or father, or in my case, would I want my college-age kids to say this to me? Or would I want to read about it in the paper? Does anyone here a member of the chess club? Okay, you all are.
Bunch of nerds.
No, well, my apologies. When I started using this example, there was no chess club. And